Hey there. I know it's been a while. I'm good. Happy to be back and good to see you all and looking forward to reconnecting. I took a little time away just to be with the Lord and hear fresh again. I really just wanted to hear His voice and be away with Him and be ready for a new year and for as long as He tarries. And just hear what direction he wants things to go. So one of the things I'm going to do going forward, it's kind of funny, is I've attempted to do Bible studies 3 or 4 times this on videos, and every time an event or something has happened that has interrupted those. And so I really got away in my closet time these last couple of months and just really prayed, like, Lord, what do you have for these videos? Because I'm not hopping on just to hop on. Honestly, I want to do this to impact those for Christ's kingdom and to make a very real kingdom difference. That is my purpose, to bring Him glory and see Him glorified and get truth out and talk in honesty with you. And so the Lord just really spoke to me, and what He wants this to be more focused on is revelations, not necessarily the book, though I'm sure the book will be included as you can see in the description, but visions in the spirit, supernatural encounters that I have, whatever that might be, and to share that and then tie that directly into what does that look like biblically, so that the Word is glorified, the Holy Spirit is glorified, and we all get to encounter Him together. So that makes me in a very dependent position for Him to move and Him to do it, and that's just fine. That's the best position to be in, so we know it's from Him. So, without further ado, I want to hop into two visions. These were both visions that He gave me, so that means I was awake but taken into a vision. So I closed my eyes as He revealed these things, versus a dream where you're actually asleep and He gives you a dream. So these were two visions. The first vision that He wants me to share, because I know a lot of people, and as we are in the end days and just struggling with many things, fear is a big, big deal. And a lot of people are struggling with fear. And so this first vision is to combat that directly. So what I saw is I saw just a single simple table where only two people could sit. It was very plain looking wood table. But on the one side of the table, Jesus was sitting there, and He was glorified and He was beautiful, and all these various heavenly colors, like I've talked about, were refracting and reflecting off of Him and coming from Him and going and emanating from Him. But yet He was kind of plain dressed, similar to what you, if you've ever watched The Chosen, how the clothing would be on that show, similar to that. He was very plain dressed, but He was glorified. And He was almost like the glory was coming out of Him, but He was containing it inside. And He had His kingly crown on, and He was just beautiful, because Jesus is beautiful. And He was sitting there, and I actually had this vision for an individual, but then the Lord has taken me this vision so many times from so many people that I knew then that He wanted me to release this corporately for as many people as watch this video, because it's for the bride of Christ. But as He was sitting there, insert yourself. You sat down in front of Him, and you had a plate, a dinner plate, and on your plate it was just overfilled with stuff. And it was all kinds of various things. It was things that you were worried about or fearful in your life, or burdens you're carrying, or concerns you have, or decisions you got to make. You name it, it was on this plate of things that are going on in your own head or your own heart, and things that you're wrestling with. So this was on this plate. And as Jesus motioned with His hand like this, He wanted the plate slid over to Him. And as the plate got slid over to Him, He slid something back. And it was very simple. It wasn't anything that was on the plate you slid to Him. He slid this back, a wedding band. And He said, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." And all he wants you to do is carry this. The rest of all of that stuff, and especially as we're in the last days and things are getting more and more and more intense, the safest place you can be is yoked to Jesus. But when you are yoked to him, it's a true commitment in the way you live your life. It's a true commitment of surrender and laying your life down. Your life is not your own anymore. And how a yoke actually really works is it's a piece of wood that's kind of shaped. Well, you can't really, I'm not doing it real well. Kind of like that on one side, and then like this on the other. And what you would use it for is to put on two cattle, so that the cattle are side by side and have to learn to walk together to get a job done. Jesus wants you to be yoked to him. But in order to be yoked to him, you actually have to walk next to him. Not ahead of him and tell him to follow you. He tells you where we're headed. He directs. And so it causes us to have to submit. And some of us, we really struggle with submitting, don't we, in many areas of our life. But ultimately, what's so beautiful about that is all those worries on that plate, you don't have to carry that because this is all you have to carry. I've been married 25 years now, and that's not that heavy to carry. But it comes with a responsibility of how I live my life and the choices I make. And being faithful to my wife, we need to be faithful to Jesus. We need to live a life of faithfulness. We need to be in obedience. And in that is where true protection and covering will be in this dark hour. He will watch over us. And he will give us wisdom. And he will direct our steps. And he will show us what to do, where to go, what not to do, and where not to go. But we can't watch things we just want to watch, listen to things we just want to listen to, read things we just want to read. We can't just consume the world. We have to walk in obedience to the Lord, and that is where protection is. So I would strongly encourage you, take a look at your bookshelf. Do those books point to Christ, or do they point away from him? Is his name mentioned? Consider it. Consider the movies you're consuming. Considering how you spend your time. Those things are going to really matter all the more because deception is so great upon the earth. So let me encourage you with that. Now you learn, and I learn, to walk out with just this is our burden, because his yoke is easy and his burden is light. That's a light thing to carry, but it comes with a choice, responsibility. Now here's the second vision. The second vision was as I saw a speedometer, like you would see in a car or a plane or a boat or anything that has a motor, that shows you how fast you're going. And it was in an arcing motion, just like a speedometer would be, but it said Alpha on this side and Omega on this side, and the needle had been going up. When God spoke creation existence, it started a needle of time. And as this needle went up and up and up and up, currently it's right here. It's right at the very end where Omega says, where the word Omega sits. And there's the slightest crack of light between Omega and that needle. Goes right along with that angel I saw probably over a year ago now that brought the clock in my living room and said the hour is late, where it's just before midnight and the doors were only this open. Time in the spirit does not work like time here. You don't watch your watch, but your heart is ready for the end, because we're not promised tomorrow. This could be the last thing I ever do. I hope it's not, but if it is, I get to go home. So we're never promised tomorrow, and so it's important that we live our life like that with an eternal mindset. But as I saw this needle, Alpha Omega, and it was right at the end, I saw a secondary needle, and it was quite tiny, quite small, very similar in shape, moving along, but it wasn't right at the end. It was, maybe halfway-ish or somewhere in there, just before halfway, I don't know. But that was my life. It was representative of my life. And what the Holy Spirit began to share is he's like, there are going to be times with the time of the world and creation that you're living in that I'm going to be only talking about the big needle because we're so close. And that your day that day is going to be focused on what do you need to do about the big needle before I return. But I'm still going to speak promises over your little needle as well, and my promises are yes. And if I give them, my word does not return void. If I've spoken them, I'm going to accomplish them. But what he then began to share is he's like, so sometimes I'm only going to want you to focus on the little needle. And I don't want you to get all wrapped up into all the things in the world and all the things that are happening and going on. And so there's a little bit of a balance that we have to walk in this end times, these last days, last hours, to absolutely, I wrote 3 books about it. I am focused on Christ's return 100%. I'm also a husband and a father, and I care about those around me that, those who've gotten to meet me and know me. I care about those that I get to know. And so there's a mission in the hour and the time I'm in directly, and then there's an eternal mission, and we can walk in both ways. But what the Lord really began to share is, I said, but God, this vision is encouraging and it's kind of discouraging, because there's a lot of promises floating out there that this needle, this big Alpha and Omega needle, that might finish out. All the signs are here. Prophecies are being fulfilled. It looks like we're at the end when this little needle is not going to fulfill out. He goes, because some things that I want to do in your life, some things that I want to promise and give, are not for this earth. They're for the new heaven and the new earth where righteousness reigns. So I would strongly encourage you to read the scriptures that I've put on this description, because it's directly the scriptures I put talk about the Alpha Omega and the new heaven and the new earth that he's going to create. The reality is that the earth we're in, as beautiful it is that God created, is dying. It has an expiration date. It will pass away. But you and me, 500 years from now, if this earth is gone, you and I are somewhere doing something. If we know Christ, we're with him in heaven's glory. If we don't, there's a very real hell. And he doesn't want anyone to go there. I wouldn't want my worst enemy to go there. But we have a choice in what we do about Jesus, don't we? We have a distinct choice. We either accept him and then take his marriage proposal and follow after him and serve him and be yoked to him, or we reject him. It's one or the other. And so be encouraged that even in these dark days and dark hours and the things going on, God is still, like the vision I shared, he's still shifting sheep and goat. He's still exposing darkness. He's still bringing righteousness through the earth, and he is showing evil for what it is. He is truly Lord over all of this. And none of this evil can go anywhere that it wants to go until the restrainer is truly lifted away. He lives within you and me, if we know him, and we're gone. Then the flood's going to come in, for sure. But there's going to be more and more tension before that, and we have to be prepared to walk through persecution and hard times, but we don't have to carry it. We just have to be married. It's that simple. Married to our bridegroom, and let him show us how to overcome, because he came to destroy the works of the devil. He overcame death, grave, hell, stole the keys to it. He's got it all. So don't look to yourself for your strength. Don't look to yourself for your answers. Don't be self-focused. Be surrendered and Christ following. And that gap couldn't be more wider. The self-focus brings condemnation, does not bring peace. It opens you up to deception. It opens you up to being led astray. It opens you up to sin and pride. And God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. But when we are surrendered, married, Christ-focused, all those burdens leave, and we get to walk in peace in whatever hard time we have. And I had to put this in practice the last couple of months. In the midst of losing my dad, we had a part stolen off our car that made it non-functional in broad daylight. We had multiple things within our house break, all at the same time, including majors like a hot water tank. They all went We had probably, let's see, one, two, three, about 6 or 7 things break. Then I took a fall and got hurt. We got hit. And so what did I have to do then? I had to continue to every day slide that plate over and hold on to this and say, Lord, you take my burdens and they're yours. And guess what? He did. And I walked in peace, and he resolved every issue and blessed us in the issues. It's truly, there is a very real mechanism that comes back to us in the way that he moves when we stay surrendered and we let him lead us, not us tell him how it's going to be. So be encouraged, because God has big plans for you. Big plans. They don't stop because evil is running rampant right now. They don't stop at all. He's creating big purposes for you in the earth and the heavens to come, in your eternal home. We have a millennial reign coming. We have a new earth and a new heaven coming. We have new creation coming, and heaven itself, where God puts his throne, that we get to encounter. We have so much ahead of us. Don't let evil discourage you. Just keep your eyes on him. Much love, and I look forward to the next revelation to share with you. Have a great day.